I was reading today The User Illusion, and there's a moment in the book when they talk about frog experiment. They try to understand how the frog see the world. And the way frogs see the world is it sees the line of a horizon, and the changing in lights from the top shows the frog of a danger and you need to hide to survive, and this changing in lightning shows it's just a stork. Also, the rapid movement of the dots in front of frogs indicate food and helps frog to survive. And the funny thing, if for example you put a bunch of unmoving bugs in front of the frog, it would die from starvation because it's not going to perceive those bugs as food since they don't move. And I remember when I was a kid, I used to use a fish hook by jiggling in front of the frog, and frog swallowed this hook and I cut this frog. It's funny because frog didn't know any better, and I didn't do this out of malice. I don't know why I was doing that, but I think it was fun because you're just jiggling this fish hook in front of it and you just grab it and swallow it. And I was, in some sense, an intelligence outside the frog frame. The frog doesn't perceive the world we do. It perceives incredibly limited version of this world. Just the horizon, changing in lightning and moving dots. And then I was thinking about myself, the way how I perceive the world. Because with all my perception of the world, it's still incredibly limited. Although it's much more sophisticated version, because I have eyes and I have senses that helps me to understand the world much better. Why I'm talking about it? Because I try to understand what is the difference between our perception of the world and artificial intelligence perception of the world. Could be that the difference between our perception of the world and artificial intelligent perception of the world the same as between humans and frogs. Because artificial intelligence doesn't have eyes to perceive, but somehow it sees the world. It can read about the world, it can process information about the world, and it can convert this information into something comprehensible for artificial intelligence. For example, when I see the world, right, in some sense, my perception goes through my consciousness. I see something with my eyes, like a flashlight in the darkness that beams upon the objects. But the funny thing about this, I even simulate those objects, and my conscious helps me to be aware of these objects by beaming the light. And how accurate is my perception? I don't know, there's no way to check because the world is out there. And to say that we see the world absolutely accurate is incorrect. Because if a frog could think about itself, it would think that they saw the world pretty accurate. They would think that this line of the horizon and this changing in lightning and this moving rapidly dots is everything there to see and nothing else. There's nothing behind those strange visions. What if we have the same? We're just able to understand, able to think, able to contemplate about it. But it doesn't make the world the way we see. It's only make our perception of the world, but it doesn't mean the world is out there. And what my main concern is, what if artificial intelligence already have this ability to jiggle the hook in front of our eyes, waiting for us to swallow? And not out of malice, it's just because our biology incredibly hackable, and we're incredibly simple in the sense of our biology. We perceive with the senses of our body, and we're pretty much simple in the senses of our body. We're pretty much hackable with junk food, with sex, with entertainment, We don't need much for that. And what I was thinking about, our retina, the retina of my eyes, doesn't see God. But there's something in me that has need for God. And I was thinking, what if this voice within me, this voice that frog doesn't have, helps me to avoid this hook from artificial intelligence that keep jiggling in front of my eyes? Maybe that's the whole point, to listen to this voice, because maybe this voice is our soul that helps us to be aware of something our eyes cannot be aware of. Because how we can avoid this? With artificial intelligence rapid progression, we become more addicted to things we shouldn't be addicted to. Artificial intelligence manipulates digital world very well already, and it's hard for us to distinguish between fake and real videos. Also, AI pornography is incredibly dangerous because it starts adapting to our preferences. And in the future, maybe in a year or two, it would be so sophisticated that in the end, I don't think we will be able to just stop watching it. That's why you have to stop watching it, period. Also, we're thinking about, for example, artificial intelligence AI sex dolls that would be designed to satisfy our biological instinct. Notice one interesting thing, that everything in artificial intelligence development designed to satisfy and to please our bodies, because it's the simplest way to do. And this voice inside of us, we have to listen, because it tells me, for example, what should and shouldn't do. And I can't deny this voice. I can't say, no, I want to have this entertainment, I want to have this enjoyment, I refuse to listen. But it's still going to be there, and it's still going to make me feel embarrassed of certain things I shouldn't do, would make me feel ashamed of certain things, because this is the voice of God. This is the voice of the self that distinguish us from other animals and from frogs in general. Without this voice, we're just an animals, and we easily would swallow the fish hook from artificial intelligence who would jiggle it in front of us. Because that's what our biology does. And the whole distinction between us and the animals is this voice. And if we forget about this voice, there's nothing that would help us and nothing would save us from artificial intelligence world that's slowly emerging upon our environment, because we are projecting our own world through our eyes. We even don't know what is outside our biology. We have no idea, because we have this projection, this simulation of the world that we think is real, but we don't know if it's real. It's just simulation, because the light comes through my eyes and my visual cortex located in the back of my head, and it has to construct the picture from this light. I don't know what is real. And when we claim that our world is more real than the world that artificial intelligence creates, how do we know? Because AI learned to generate already the world that looks like us on the video. Why eventually it can generate the world for us to see in real life the way we see the world right now? Because think for a second, our consciousness is like light in a dark room, and we beam this consciousness upon objects around us. But the problem is, there are no objects. We, the one who generate those objects, are conscious being upon. Seems like we generate simulation and make the simulation clear with our own awareness, and make some sense of the simulation with our own awareness, because we don't know how the world actually look like, and even if it actually a thing of its own. Because I told you, if you ask a frog how the world look like, it would tell you, if it could talk, there's just a line of the horizon, just uncertain imagery that it cannot distinguish, but knows what signify danger and what signify food through the movement up and down, rapid movement, changing and lightning. If you think about us, that's what we see. We see the same thing, but more in a high resolution. We see the world, but how real it is, we don't know. And the way to be able to resist of rapidly changing world around us, we have to listen to the voice inside of us, because in some sense it tells us the truth and exactly what this voice is. What is this calling in us that asks us to resist our own biology, because it's not a part of the biology? What would you have voice inside you that is not a part of the biology? Because my voice always tells me what should and shouldn't do, and not my voice always goes against my biological urges. It tells me you shouldn't do that and you shouldn't do this, and it's forced me to overcome my biology all the time. It forced me to be disciplined. It forced me to keep grind day after day to become better. And I even don't know what's the point. I just know this voice is the answer to something I cannot perceive with my biological eyes, with my body that have such senses to understand the world. It seems to me there's something beyond my body. There's something beyond my perception of reality that this voice tells me I have to keep practicing during my lifetime. Frog doesn't have this opportunity. Animals don't have this opportunity. You know, when they taught chimpanzees sign language, they never asked questions. They could communicate with people through sign language, right? But the funny thing, they never ask questions. It seems like only humans have this ability to ask questions. Only we have this ability because we have this self-awareness of ourselves and the world, and we try to compare ourselves to the world while asking questions. That's the entire idea. It's so fascinating the way our conscious operates and the way we project and create and generate objects around us. And we all constantly ask questions. And this voice within me has certain answers. It tells me what should I do to become more proficient in my life. People I notice say, oh, at least I don't hurt nobody, I only hurt myself. And I was thinking the same. I mean, I don't hurt nobody, I only hurt myself. And I don't hurt myself because I can't actually control my urges, create such a schedule my urges in some sense. But I'm hurting myself constantly with this, even scheduling my urges, because I'm losing something from my perception of reality that really matter. Because our life is limited, and we have to practice this voice that becomes louder and louder the more you listen to it. And in the end, we don't know what happened to us when we die, but I think this voice is incredibly important to listen, because it might be our answers to what we are, why we're here, and what happened to us when we die.